For today's project, I'll be going over trig functions and right triangle trig ratios. To start off, essentially what a trig function is that it takes an angle, or which could be represented by theta, of a right triangle, and it creates a ratio between two sides. The sides either being adjacent, opposite, and or hypotenuse. I would also like to note that these sides aren't always fixed, meaning if theta were to be right here in this angle, this side would become opposite and this side would become adjacent. Um, and hypotenuse will always be hypotenuse because it will always be across from the 90-degree angle. Now with that out of the way, in order to go about solving trig functions, one way to solve it is by using this mnemonic here, which is SOHCAHTOA. And how it's constructed is that it's divided up of three parts. The first part being so, second part being ka, and third part being toa. And for every first letter in each part, it stands for a trig function. So S stands for sine, C stands for cosine, and T stands for tangent. And for the letters following after it, it also represents, no, sorry, it represents a side um, of the right triangle. So O represents opposite, H represents hypotenuse, and A represents adjacent. And this is actually a ratio between the two sides. So this would be opposite to hypotenuse, and this would be A to, or sorry, adjacent to hypotenuse, and so on and so forth. For the first problem here, the question is asking us to find cosine of theta. So if you refer back to our mnemonic here, we know that C stands for cosine, so we only use this part of the mnemonic. So this part is telling us we have to find a ratio between the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So the adjacent of theta is y, and the hypotenuse of theta is r, or this triangle is r. So that'll be a ratio between y over r. In the second problem here, it's asking for us to find tangent of theta. So if we were to refer back to our mnemonic here, we know that tangent stands for t. So we will only be using this part of the mnemonic. So this part is telling us opposite to adjacent, and the opposite of theta is 6, and adjacent to it is 8. So that would be a 6 to 8 ratio, or 6 over 8.